Well, hey Mark, we're down here at the Great Salt Spring, one of the most unbelievable, coolest places anywhere in southern Illinois, and it's located right here in Gallatin County.
Yes, and you know, Saline County, the Saline River, all these things got their name from this one particular little spot that, quite honestly, in some ways it looks like a septic tank. But at one point, 1/3 of the state's revenue came from this place right here.
Right there, 1/3 of the state's revenue. And you know, it's the history is just remarkable.
The town of Shawneetown is where it is today because it was put as close as they could get it to the salt well. It was also a place for people to come and register their land claims, but it also administered this federally owned property, which was the Great Salt Spring. And what would happen was the federal government owned it, but then they would lease it to individuals who then would turn it into a business. Prior to that, this entire area was just a hub of activity for Native Americans. And at one time, this would have been a very active place. You'd have had buildings around here. You'd have had places where people stayed. There wouldn't have been a tree anywhere. The trees were all gone because they used the trees for wood to heat the water, to boil the water away for the salt. So this place was quite a bit different than it is today.
And it's located very close to the Crenshaw House.
The Crenshaw House is where it is because of its location to the salt wells. And John Hart Crenshaw was the administrator of the salt wells that are here. There's also another one that's called the Half Moon Lick, which is just outside of the town of Equality. But because of this place here, people came to this area really, really early on in Illinois history.
It's amazing. It is really one of the coolest places anywhere in Illinois or the Midwest, and especially being located right here in southern Illinois, we're glad to have it here. It's kind of a cool place.
It actually made this area probably one of the most financially independent places in the state for a long time. But that was until they started mining salt in places like Pennsylvania and things like that. And after that, the quality here kind of dropped and it ended the trade. But for a long time, this was the financial center of southern Illinois.
Mark, we're actually standing here at the Great Salt Spring, and like we said, it's a really unique place right here in the Shawnee National Forest, just outside of Equality, Illinois, off Route 1, down from the Crenshaw House. You actually have a really cool artifact that kind of goes along with the purpose of the salt spring.
Yeah, this piece of artifact that I have here in my hand was actually taken from a private collection that was acquired back in the 50s and 60s, and we have them on display at the Sling Creek Pioneer Village. But what you're seeing here is a piece of pottery, and if you look, you can see the lip of the pottery. You can see the cord marking, and what they would do is they would make a basket type thing out of grasses, and then they would cover it and coat it with a special mud that had shell tempered and that type of thing in it. And then they would bake it and they would create what they called brine bowls. And these were great big pans that they would use. And then the Native Americans, probably even before the time of Columbus, came down here and they would dip it down into this water and then set it up on a hill and let it evaporate. And when it evaporated, what they would have was salt. Later on, when it was finally purchased and the federal government got control of it, what they would do is they had great big iron kettles and they would set them around. They would they used both paid labor and slave labor that was used here. They would bring them down here, they'd get the water out, they'd take it up on the hill, they'd put it into the big metal kettles and they would boil it, and then they would have salt. If you look close enough, you can still see the salt that is in the water as it runs down this little ditch and eventually into the Saline River.
One of the things we certainly want to encourage, if you, just as we do in almost any place we recommend that you come and visit, always take caution. I mean, this is someplace too, that spring is very, very deep, and it's something that you would never want to let a child get around or even get too close yourself. But to stand back here and look at it is truly remarkable. You can see it from the road, but as anytime you're in the Shawnee Forest or anywhere else for that matter, as you're experiencing they're really cool sites. So we encourage you to take precaution and always be careful.
And keep in mind that basically what this is an open well. This is on Saltwell Road, and what they would do is they would dig down into the ground where the springs were located, and they would create a well. So this wouldn't have been the only one at one time, but today it is. But so when you come here, just remember, this is basically an open well is what it is. And like any danger of a well, it has that same danger.
It's a really unique place. We'd encourage you, if you're out looking for something really unique and different to do, come out here and see the Great Salt Spring.
The Great Salt Spring.
Don't get in it. That's a no-no, but you can look at it. You can, you can certainly see it from here as well.